Welcome back to Spiritually Connected with Tanya Lee. I'm your host, Tanya Lee, and today we have the absolutely lovely, and cannot wait to talk to her, Lisa Barnnett. Lisa is the international best-selling author from Questioning to Knowing and The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records. Ooh, two great books. She is the founder of the Akashic Knowing School of Wisdom, where she specializes in teaching you to access your personal soul wisdom and guidance to transform your life. Working directly with your soul's plan and support of the Akashic Record keepers, Lisa offers Akashic readings and healing sessions to clear old soul contracts, ooh, we could all use those, release karma and vows, helping individuals align with their soul's path. Please welcome Lisa.
Hello, Tanya. So great to be here with you today.
I am so excited to have you on. I think I love the Akashic Records. I by no means am I an expert like you, but I absolutely love them. So I want to just dive right in and let's talk about, first of all, for you, how did you get into, how did you become psychic? How did you get into all this? So many questions. How did you begin? Let's try that.
Well, it actually began when I was about 3 years old, and I realized I was trapped in a body. I could remember not being embodied. So the image I had at about 3 years old, as I stared at my hands, kind of horrified, was of me with two other etheric souls, kind of having this beautiful nonverbal communication with these other etheric souls. And what triggered it for me was realizing I couldn't talk very well, and I was very frustrated. So that was my trigger. And then when I was about 13, 14 years old, I started to study. I, still realized that I could remember not being in a body. And I thought, what the heck? Somebody's got to be able to explain this. And my parents certainly couldn't. So I started reading all the esoteric books I could get my hands on.
Can we just maybe, for the people at home that don't know what esoteric means, can you just elaborate for them?
Absolutely. So, I consider the Akashic Records very esoteric. It is often kind of ancient and a little bit unusual information that's not part of the mainstream. So reading or even studying about psychic information back when I started studying, it was the late 60s, early 70s, and the East was just coming to the West, right? The Maharishi was just starting to teach transcendental meditation here in the United States. And that was all considered very esoteric or unusual information.
I love that. Good. That's a great explanation, because a lot of people, they may have heard that the word before, but they may not have caught it on. And so I'm in Canada, and we see it a little bit different. So and it's always good to hear it cut in there as well. So that's good. So how can somebody, what made, actually, let's back up. What made you choose the Akashic Records, or did they choose you?
Good question. They definitely chose me. So, lots of crazy things through my life, as is, usual with all of us, right? I had my best friends die, and, kind of that whole frustration about life and death, and how do you die when you're 13 or 18, and what's all that about? And so really studying philosophy and trying to figure all of this out, I eventually actually started studying energy healing and psychic trance. And so I went, I said, okay, I have to learn enough about this that I can use these gifts and these tools I obviously have been aware of for the last 30 years. But the interesting thing about the Akashic Records that happened was, when I was studying with this amazing clairvoyant teacher, an energy healer, she said, after you do some energy healing for a client, go up to their Akashic Records, which is the recording of their soul's journey, and it's their own personal library. Go up to the gate. You can't go in. Go up to the gate and ask the record keepers for the appropriate energy to fill them up with. And so I thought, okay, sure. I didn't know any different. Again, this is quite a few years ago. 30, 40 years ago, nobody was particularly aware of the Akashic Records. So in a sense, it was kind of a gift to study with someone who knew about them. So what would happen is I would literally do what she said. I'd go up to the gate. I would imagine this big stone library with a big wrought iron fence around it. And these beautiful beings of light would come down the stairs, and I'd say, please, may I have some energy for my clients? Or please, can you, give my clients some energy to fill them up? And I'd see the sparkles come down. I'd see, books or pens or sparkles or waterfalls or whatever it was that they were getting filled up with. And I'd think, wow, great, thanks, off I'd go. And that went on for years. But then what started to happen is occasionally when I would be doing a psychic reading and energetic healing for someone, I would get different than the psychic trance I would go into. I'd get this really expansive information. And it was different than anything else I ever got. And I'd always think, wow, that was amazing. I wonder what that was. But I didn't know what it was. That went on for almost 5 years before one of my friends and I were trading readings, and she said, they're the Akashic Record keepers that are talking to you. And I was like, no, we're not allowed to,
Yeah.
And she was like, yes, you are. I was like, my teacher said no, I was a good student. So it was kind of one of those, they literally talked to me for almost 5 years before someone else had to come along and go, it's the record keepers talking to you. So once I realized that, I could talk back to them and get more information.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay, so I just so many questions now. So you are, I consider you quite the expert in it, and if you guys look her up, Lisa is very gifted and has been doing this a long time, and the proof is in the pudding. She's been in tons of tons of different media and etc. stuff like that. So she's just no fly by night kind of gal here. and so somebody that also believes they might be accessing the Akashic Records, similar, like if they hear what you just said and said, oh, I think I'm doing that, what would you encourage them to do?
I would encourage them to do what I was too silly to do, which is ask exactly who I'm speaking to.
Yes.
So if you're getting big booming voices, or if you're getting beings that are talking to you, I honestly now teach this to all my students. First and foremost, ask, who are you? What is your name? Are you a being of pure light? I only want to talk to beings of light. There's all sorts of beings out there in the realms, right? Mm-hmm. And so really the best advice I have for anyone is ask them who they are and why they're speaking to you.
I love that. And the same thing goes not only for Akashic Records, but as well as mediumship itself too, right? Like
I would say even more, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree, like in a lot of times being the dutiful student, I could look back at some of my learnings as well, and the dutiful student teacher said I can't do that, so you don't do that. Although I'm an Aries, so I tend to buck the system and I want to be first at everything and push. And so I'm like, okay, well, why can't I do that? So I was that inquisitive kid, curious. So I encourage everybody to stay curious too, as well. And so I think that goes hand in hand for sure. Ooh, I love this.
Yes, absolutely. So, to me, and this is part of what I teach when I teach people to access their own records, which is I teach them that the more questions you ask, the more information you get, right? The bigger the answer is. So if you ask yes or no, that's not much of an answer. They could say yes, but if you went deeper, you would actually find out that that could be part of a way to maybe heal some old karmic patterns. And it may be no fun at all. And there may be another option if you just ask further, right?
I love that. So I want to take the easy way out. So no, I'm just kidding.
I do. Why not?
There may be an easier way, is what you're saying.
Right. Right. So kind of a good example of that would be if, say, somebody has two, either say you have a job offer and you just say, should I take this job? Yes or no? And you get a yes. And, maybe it's not from your record keepers, maybe it is, but, could still be a yes from your record keepers or your guides or whoever you might be talking to, your angels. And then you get the job and it's really hard and your boss is not very nice to you. And you're like, what the heck? You said yes. And they say, well, it's good for you to, kind of understand these types of people like your boss, to have compassion, to work through some old challenges you have with being compassionate and kind and loving to people who are not always that way to you, and on. And so it's about the lesson that your soul would like to learn. Now, if you said, is it in my highest and best to say, take this job? They might say yes. And you could say, is there any karma attached? And they'd say, yes. And you could say, could you explain what that means to me? And they might tell you, well, your boss isn't going to be very nice, but you'll work through it and you'll grow as a soul. And then you have a conscious choice. Do I want to take that job or wait for another one? Right?
I love that. So can we come back just a little bit with regard to soul? And what your understanding of that, not the soul itself, but how do we, for those people that are wondering, they're going, okay, well, what is my soul's purpose? Can't you just tell me? Or, how do we come here? Why do we come here? Let's try that.
Yes. Okay.
Well, questions. I don't just go one at a time.
That's good. It's a great question. And it is the topic of my next book that I'm working on.
Perfect.
So I actually have a lot to say about it, but I know, I know we don't have a week. So here is the concept, is that your soul made a whole big plan before you decided to embody again. Now, most humans live hundreds of lifetimes. This isn't a one-shot deal or even a 10-shot deal. This is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lives. And part of the reason it turns into so many is that once we get here to Earth, we often get stuck in what has been considered or called the karmic wheel of life. That means we have challenges, we don't learn we don't learn about them or around them. We don't do our compassion and our forgiveness. We're mad, we leave, we desert people, we do all sorts of things that are not really in the highest good of humanity. And so again, we do it again, and we do it again, and we do it again, and we do it right until we kind of figure it out in some way. And we do both sides. We're the one who deserts, we're the one who gets deserted and deserted. And that's actually making me hungry talking about desserts. So we get in these kind of karmic wheels. And karma is not about punishment. It is only about your soul's growth and learning. So that's what we're doing. We're here to grow and learn and really evolve as a soul. So your soul makes that plan and says, oh, there's people I'd like to be with. I want to write a bunch of soul contracts to support these people who are in my soul family. I want to write some soul contracts with people who maybe I've had challenges with, so I can grow and work through that, and we can be done with that old kind of karmic pattern. And I want to bring certain gifts and talents to life because I want to share those, right? And maybe I want to be married, or maybe I want to have children, or maybe I just want to hold a bigger energy, which could be like the divine feminine or the divine masculine. So I want to be the mother or father of many people, which means I actually am deciding I'm not going to have physical children in this lifetime because I want to be maybe a different kind of experience. Maybe I want to be the teacher and have that sort of experience and teach many people and be very maternal to many. So we make this whole big, long plan. And then, of course, we get in a body and we forget it, right?
Yeah.
Right. So here we all are thinking, what the heck am I doing here? And you have a whole big plan. And, you know, this is what I think that that the Akashic Records is very helpful with, is understanding those soul contracts, the gifts and talents, which are part of your purpose, but your soul contracts and completing them are also part of your purpose, as well as bringing your talents to the world, as well as supporting other people. So honestly, your whole life is your purpose. And the gifts and talents and more kind of specific purposes often change as we go through life, right? So when you're younger, your purpose might be about discovering some of your psychic or medium talents. And then maybe you have another aspect. Maybe you decide to take a break from all of that and get married and have kids. And so that's a huge purpose, is having children, right? Or being, you know, in an intimate relationship and being a supportive partner, right? Maybe you have a talent to write or to speak, you know, like I've written a bunch of books. Obviously, you have a podcast and like to speak. And so we're both communicators, right? Which is a huge soul purpose and path. And often we do it in many different ways, by writing, by speaking, by teaching. Sometimes we do it in big groups. Sometimes we do it in smaller community groups, right? So purpose is definitely not a job description.
No, that's a fact. So how I relate it to my students that I mentor and stuff like that is, and my inner circle is, I relate it to, if you didn't cover what you were meant to cover, you're hitting that revolving door and coming back. No, it's a droll way of putting it, but it helps them to be relatable and understand. And I want to come back here where, if we don't, we have divine will, so there is that side of that. I want to come back to, so if I decide, let's be clear, if I decide I'm going to be just not such a good person this lifetime, I'm going to be just a grumpy old soul, miserable, and this kind of stuff, and my spirit team is going, that was not what we put you here for. It's okay that you have that lifetime. You're just going to have to not necessarily repeat it, but you're going to have to come back, and you're going to have to learn lessons in a different way. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. I would say there are always going to be parts that you're going to learn. And so it'll be like, oh, what didn't I remember? What didn't I learn? Let's put that in next soul plan, right? And then hopefully that time we'll get it in a different kind of way, that we'll actually get to finish it or understand it or wake up in some way. And, you know, it's so complicated because not only do we write a lot of soul contracts with other people in our lives, often it has to do with our interaction with them, which may help and support our waking up or in our remembering more about our gifts, or sometimes not. Maybe feeling smaller or not feeling like we're able to go on a spiritual path if it's more spiritual, right? Because of the family we grew up in, or the country or the state, wherever we grew up. And so there are often those challenges. Say you were born into a very religious family and you're much more spiritual, you've got psychic gifts, right? You have that, I can talk to the dead, you know, that's amazing gift, right? So, but your parents are like, no, that is not good. And so you hide until you don't, right? Yeah. Until you move out of the house and choose something different, until you can find that that depth and that power in your soul to say, you know, love you parents, but this is part of my soul path and purpose, right? So it might be 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 lifetimes where you get stuck, and then one where you're like, I can do it anyway, right? So that can be a huge you know, growth or learning that you've come to experience. So you weren't mistakenly put into that family, right?
That's
It's
right.
about stepping into your power. It's about all of that self kind of empowerment and depth and believing in yourself, and all of those kind of gifts of raising your self-esteem and trusting yourself and getting rid of all that self-doubt. All of those are big processes that everyone in humanity, I would say, is working on in some way or another.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And do you? So I believe in cycles of 9, because the numerology. I'm very heavy into the numerology.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me your perspective on that. I believe we go in cycles of 9 at a time. Tell me your, because I know we all don't believe the same thing. So
yeah. Well, I'm a fan of numerology. I'm an 11 and a 22, and so I use these all the time. You know, I'm not all that. I mean, I'm not that familiar with it. I haven't looked at that. I haven't ever asked the record keepers that specific question, although it would be an interesting one to say, you know, how do we do this? Do we, you know, kind of go through these cycles of 9 and learn what we learn, and now we start again? Because often they'll say our past lives are what we're, you know, predicating this current life on. So I'd say, I didn't learn that, I didn't learn that, I didn't learn that. I've had great relationships with this soul from here, there, and the other place. They're not all from the last life or two. No. It can go back thousands of years. You may ask a soul to be in your life who you haven't even known in 1,000 or 3,000 years, but it's time now to come back. And so to me, the circles are really big, kind of in that way. But again, I'm a big fan of numerology, and I love the 9 and the completion and all of that, right? And so I haven't really particularly related it to the Akashic Records, but I'll have to ask and see what they say.
Well, we'll just do that, and then we'll get an update from you. What that looks like.
Right.
And that's why I always say, like, everybody's a little bit different. Every psychic, and I want to. This is why I love having different people on, psychic mediums, Akashic Record readers. I love having the different components, including skeptics. Those are fun too.
Right.
I want perspective. I want people to go, hey, I don't quite resonate with that psychic, but that psychic medium, or that, okay, that Akashic Record, yeah, she's got me. Like, I want more of her. And it just resonates deep in your soul. And we definitely want more of that. Like, we want you to find your soul path and what aligns with you and what you feel called to do. So I love that. I love that. Okay, so I heard you're working on another book. You said you're working on another book. Do you have maybe asking too much here. Do you have a date of when it's coming out? Do we get first read? Do we get, like, what are you going to tell me?
And the record keepers just said March. So,
oh, perfect.
So I am working on their deadline for me. So.
Love that. Okay, so guys, you'll have to watch for it in March 2021, right?
Correct. Yes. And so it's about 3/4 written. So I'm getting close. So my real intention is to have it finished. You know, books are a big process, right? Yeah. So, you know, get it finished by November so it can go into the editing, and then you get cover art and on, right? And then you plan a big launch so that everybody knows about it. So yeah, so I'm very excited. It's coming together, and I think this is going to be a great book. Really, the record keeper suggested we do this book to connect to so many more people who are completely unaware of the Akashic Records, because I would probably say that the majority of the people on the planet are not aware of the Akashic Records. Because here's the interesting story about it. and the record keeper said to me, we pulled the energy of the Akashic field away from Earth 1,000 years ago during the Dark Ages, because people were misusing the information for their own gain. So where's their gold hidden? How can I win this war and take over their land? So literally people were using it out of integrity. And so the record keeper said, and that was, the Dark Ages, of course, it was a bit of a mess. Yeah. The record keeper just said, we have to lift this vibration even higher so that these people can no longer access it. Really only the mystics, people who are already on a very spiritual path could access this information. And so over 1,000 years, people mostly forgot about it. And so, yeah, it was just recently in 1960s that, again, with the dawning of the age of Aquarius, with this new age coming back present, the vibration became high enough that it became more accessible to people.
Wow. So I only learned about the Akashic Records because somebody, talk about knowing somebody that says something. So I, as a clinical hypnotherapist and as a psychic medium, I do past life regressions, and I absolutely love them. They were called to me, I think it was about 12, and I was called to figure them out or sort them out or research them. And so somebody had said to me, oh, you're accessing the Akashic Records. And I was like, no, you don't know what I'm talking about. You don't know what I'm doing. And as I get into it more and more, it's like, oh yes, they actually do go quite hand in hand. It all makes sense to me now. So I learned a lot about it, and I'm just fascinated by it. And I think it was, I think it's absolutely wonderful. So you do offer classes, right? There is classes that you do offer. They are on your website. Go have a spin around your website. You guys, can you tell everybody your website just so they know? I'll have it down below too, but give me your website.
Of course. It's akashicknowing.com. And so, of course, easier to click the link because of the spelling of Akashic.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'll have all her information below. You guys, don't worry about that. And you mentioned about raising vibration. I'm huge on raising vibration. So with everything going on in the world right now, I believe the world could use more love and more healing. So would you be open to doing a group healing session with us?
Oh, yes, of course. I would love to. So just a little bit about that, because the Akashic Records, each person has their very own soul library, their own Akashic record. And we can bring together this group energy. Of course, there's records for the planet. There are records, of science. There's huge records of, so many different things. So they're all in the quantum field. And so the beautiful piece is that what happens is the record keepers will bring us together kind of in this group energy. And what they show me is that it's almost like we are pulling, because it's always a spinning ball of there is no time and space. Every life is always happening, right? I see these little lives get plucked out of this kind of spinning ball, and then they heal them. We clear the trauma. We clear the emotional and physical pain that really keeps it stuck in kind of an out of time and space place. And so when we heal it, all of those soul aspects can merge back into your bigger soul. Because part of what happens with a lot of trauma and traumatic deaths and such is that our soul splinters. And of course, about soul retrieval. So we have splintered aspects of ourselves that are not merged together. So we can go in the Akashic Records, and I'm sure as you're doing in your past life regression, right? You heal that splinter so it can merge back into the one soul. And you, in this present time, can reclaim that information, that energy, and the wisdom that you had in that lifetime that you lost when that piece of your soul splintered away. So it's very profound, work to do soul retrieval type of work and to clear these pains and these blocks that are holding us back from really remembering the truth of who we are, and actually remembering and accessing more of these gifts and talents that we have.
I love that. I love that. I'm glad you talked about how you access it, and how that everybody has their own soul records. I love that. That's there's so much more we could talk about. Like, I just want to ask you so many questions. And so, light of time, as we continue, if you're, what do you need from me to begin our group healing session?
Really nothing. What I will do is I will do a brief guided visualization.
Okay.
So if you are in a, safe place where you can sit down and close your eyes, just make sure if you're driving, you just listen. Listen later to do this. But really energetically, all we have to do, all each listener has to do, is basically say, yes, I want this healing. You just need to, give your record keepers permission to do healing on you. And so we'll do a brief guided visualization. And then I will ask the record keepers, the highest and best for us as this group, to do some work on, and I'll just let you know what comes up. It feels like there's some, what I'm hearing right now is past life blocks to communication, right? We are both communicators, but what I also know is so many of the light workers on the planet are here to communicate your energy, higher vibrational wisdom to humanity. And every one of us and more, so many more, are really needed to get out there and feel open and clear to speak your truth and to share your gifts. Because what the record keepers keep saying is that there are going to be, thousands and millions and hopefully billions of people around the planet waking up like never before.
Yes, I completely agree. And this is why we're doing this.
Yes, exactly.
Love that. Good. I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay, so let's just sit back if you can and close your eyes. And let's just all take a nice deep breath as we just move out of our head, out of that little mental thinking part of us, and drop down into our heart. And just taking a nice, calm, deep breath, feeling your heart and your lungs open and expand. And we invite our soul to come more fully present down into our physical bodies, coming all the way down, filling our torso, coming down into our legs, all the way down into our feet, as we connect to our dear Mother Earth beneath our feet. As we become more grounded and centered, we ask the divine lords of unconditional love to help us center fully in this moment as we create this sacred space. Please wrap us in your love and protection and allow us to travel to the highest realms of the Akasha available to us today. Please help us we lay our multidimensional hearts open to divine love and release all resistance. Lords of the Akashic Record, please guide us to the deepest truth we can access now. Support us in healing and releasing that which no longer serves on our true path. We give great thanks for your divine love and support on this journey today. So just taking another deep breath. I imagine a beautiful silvery blue column of light circling each of us and all of us around the world as a big, beautiful group. It might feel buzzy or swirly, or you may feel a cool breeze. Some people feel the energy as warm or even heat flowing through your body. So whatever you notice or see or don't, it's all just perfect. The record keepers are here with us. And I just want to ask them, what is the highest and best for this group to do some clearing around today? And what they're telling me is really what they had been saying a little bit earlier, is to help people to step more fully into their gifts and talents, to feel empowered to do the work that you've come to do, and to clear. So we'll clear past life blocks, we'll clear some of those splintered, we'll do some soul retrieval on those aspects that have gotten splintered off of our full main soul through emotional pain and trauma and physical pain. And then we'll retrieve some of those gifts and talents. And there's just a whole kind of, they're saying, well, we'll clear other people out of our space also, so that we can stand more fully and clearly in our heart, in alignment to our soul gifts and talents. So we'll just kind of go through. They kind of give me a download, a little bit of a dump. We're going to go X, Y, and Z, and maybe A, B, and C. And so I'll just kind of let you know as we go along. So everybody's just welcome to come back and open your eyes or keep them closed, whatever is comfortable for you. But I'm just going to start to go back, and all you need to do is just think, yes, please, I want that. If you do, if you don't, you can say, no, thank you. So the record keepers are just starting to go back through time and history. They're going back about 3,000 years, they're saying. And what they're saying is that about 3,000 years ago, which was about 1,000 BC, right? This is when many of the goddess temples and the balance with male and female energy start to fall apart. And so many of you were part of these mystery schools, of these beautiful healing temples and schools, were healers and wise women and wise men, all over the world, back around that area of around 1000 BC. So we want to clear that emotional pain and trauma. Some of us were killed, some of us were enslaved, some of us were the perpetrators, right? And so that can block us also. We might have been the warriors who killed some of the women from the temples, or burned villages, right? So everything, we do it all. No one is only good. We're all, every shade of gray imaginable. So whatever it is for you, it's perfect. And it's just time to let that physical pain, emotional pain, and trauma go. Because what the record keepers are saying about that for many of us is it makes us feel like we're afraid to be seen. If we've been hurt or killed for being the healer, we don't really want to be seen. We often made vows to stay hidden. And if we've been the perpetrator, the killer, the person who imprisoned or enslaved or whatever, we feel that we're not good enough to stand in our power because we've misused our power in the past. None of that is true for any of us any longer. This is really how we clear and release a lot of these old karmic patterns. We say, I'm of the light, I'm here to help humanity, and I deserve all the gifts, the goodness, the love, all of the abundance, the health, the wealth, all of it, as I do my work, and my intention is to help to heal humanity now, or support humanity now. We don't want to take on the healing the world, because that's another big thing that often stops us, right? So doing our little job, or doing our little piece, absolutely. So they're just clearing and releasing all of this for the last, seriously, 3,000 years. I just am feeling kind of all this energy releasing. A lot of times I'll see it, it looks like a vortex, and it spins right down into the planet, right down into Earth. And because, of course, Gaia, Mother Earth, is a sentient being, she is helping us to recycle this energy. Everything's energy. It can go into the earth. It can be recycled. It can be burnt up. I often will burn And we'll do that next. Old vows or contracts that no longer serve us from these days. So just let them finish clearing all of the emotional pain, all the physical pain and trauma that we experienced in those lives through all time, space, continuum, all places, planes, and dimensions. And now we ask the record keepers to burn any group contracts where we as a group either vowed to stay hidden like the Druids often did or the Essenes did. Other many different groups throughout time, right? It wasn't very safe to be seen a lot of times. And so any of those group contracts, we want to burn them because it's safe to be seen now. We need to be seen. We need to be heard to do our work. So letting the record keepers just, I see them flame them. They look like little scrolls, like you might have signed your name to a scroll, and they make a nice little bonfire of all these scrolls from everybody who said yes, and they just go up into flame. And that smoke, those sparks, all that energy, that fire is recycled. It's all energy. So it comes back to us in the highest and best way possible for us now. So we let all of those group contracts, all those singular contracts, sometimes we made a deal with one person to not be seen, or we might have had a soul contract to be killed, to make a point, to let them kill us, to, you know, contracts to do everything. Let's release all of those because, again, they're stuck outside of time and space. They're not valuable to you any longer. So we want to burn all those contracts over the last 3,000 years where you were had a contract with somebody to be hurt or to hurt them or to not be seen or to stay hidden. Any of those singular contracts, group contracts, and vows. Any place I vowed to stay hidden, we want to let all of that go. What the record keepers are saying is that there's also quite a few people on the call who have experienced that again in this life in their family. And it may have been because their parents were fighting or were emotionally abusive or whatever trauma in their family, and they had to stay small and stay hidden because of their family, most likely their parents, but it could have been a sibling, it could have been a, you know, grandparent, whatever it might be. So we want to clear everyone's vows to stay hidden and stay small because it no longer serves you. And we often will pick a family that will get triggered so that we can remember and we can do something about it, right? If we're totally unconscious about it, it's harder to clear those vows or those contracts because we're just unaware. But everybody who's hearing me say that these are part of these soul contracts to step into our power. And that's power in the most positive way possible, right? Again, that's a whole other long story and paradigm of people thinking power is bad, or, you know, and that's kind of it's an old paradigm that we're in the process of healing as we speak, right? So just letting all of that go. Just take a couple of breaths and breathe out. Letting it go from your body, your energy field. And we definitely want to clear any lifetimes in which we were killed. These are more the last 1,000 years usually, where we were killed for being a witch or for being a healer. So since from the Dark Ages up until about the 1800s, right, the witch burnings, all of the Inquisition, all of that trauma, that I would say all of us have had at least one, if not a dozen lives in those kind of realms over the last couple thousand years. So let's clear that emotional pain and trauma. Just let that go. Keep breathing deeply. So, whew. We want to make as much space in your energy field, reclaim as much of your soul wisdom and guidance to help you, right, to take that next step on your soul's path, really following your soul purpose. Okay, so clearing, releasing all of the physical pain of death, all the vows that we may have made along with that. Again, I'll never do that because that got me killed, right? God knows how many of those I've cleared, right? Gosh, so, okay. All right. Ooh, good. That's starting to feel a little bit lighter. All right. So now we just want to ask our record keepers to fill us up with the highest Akashic information, bringing forward and present the highest gifts and talents that we can now receive after clearing all of that old energy, pain, and trauma from our field, after reclaiming that soul aspect, that soul splinter. So bringing that all into your physical body right here and right now, in the highest alignment to your soul and your soul's plan. And we also ask the record keepers to help us to remember more about our plan as we go through our day and on with our life over the next few weeks. Just letting that kind of drop in and integrate in some ways so that you might think, oh, I understand that now. Oh, I get it. Oh, right? So inviting that to come in and integrate all the way down into your body. And I always love to ask the record keepers to drop in any upgraded genetic blueprint, any upgraded DNA that we can now hold, right? Now that we've cleared a bunch of old stuff out of there. Oh, and we invite it to come all the way down into your body, into every cell in your body, all the way down, integrating with ease and grace. And I always like to ask our record keepers to put a nice little time release bubble around us so that it could integrate over the next 72 hours with ease. So it doesn't have to be done this moment. It gets to just slowly integrate. And the record keepers, we always say, take an Epsom salt bath, take a nap, drink extra water, whatever really serves your physical body, eat a really healthy meal, go to bed early, all of those things, because when we start to change up our genetics and our energy field, often what we notice, right, is that as that old energy is leaving over the next 2 or 3 days, sometimes tears come up, sometimes we're a little extra tired. All that is really normal. And I think it's good for people to know that, because if you start to do a lot of energy healing or work with people who do healing for you, it's common. And that really is part of that process of transformation. So just take good care of yourself. Self-care, it's a wonderful thing. Oh, we thank the masters, the teachers, the beings of light, and we close and lock the group records for now, and so it is. Blessed be.
Wow, that was amazing.
Good.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I loved that. For those people that have never experienced that, I think that this was amazing, and I think that you would absolutely love an individual reading with you as well. So how can they reach out? How can they get a hold of you? What does that look like for you?
Absolutely. So honestly, the easiest way to book a one-on-one Akashic reading and healing session with me is on my website at akashicknowing.com. And then there is a /consultations, or if you go to my homepage, just go to akashickknowing.com and you'll see Akashic Record readings, big button. Poke the button, it'll take you to the page. You can schedule a reading, you can see what I'm offering. I do 1-hour sessions. I have packages of 3 because so many of us are ready to transform now, or packages of 6 if you really are on your path and jumping in with 2 feet. So lots of information, questions, things that I can help you with if you are looking for ideas on how can this help me. I do a lot of healing around money and abundance, and of course around your soul's path and purpose, and your soul's contracts, a relationship. So all of that I can help people with.
Love that. You also, on your website, you also have a whole bunch of meditations that people can download as well. One of the ones that I'm looking forward to, she's going to give us something free too, guys. So by the way, one of the things I'm really looking forward to is the expanding your soul symbol that you have there too. So you guys check it out. She's got some really great quality stuff on there. So it's really great. The freebie that you have for everybody else, can you share a little bit about it?
I would love to. So this is kind of the interesting thing. The record keeper said to me a couple of years ago, they said, did you know you have 3 brains? And I was like, I don't think so. And so they really explained how of course, your mind brain, your mental brain, of course we know, but we have a spirit brain. It's really our heart. And there is so much information. Our claircognizance, our clear knowingness lives in our heart brain. And of course, we have a gut brain or a body level of intuition. And a lot of people access that in their clairsentience, that feeling level, that emotional level. All of you who are empaths really know that kind of clairsentience, which is very 3rd chakra or your stomach, right? That kind of body belly level of knowingness. And so in this meditation, I help you to connect your mental, your spirit, and your body intuition to deepen your ability to access information through your 3 intuitive senses, your 6th chakra, your 4th chakra, and your 3rd chakra. So it's very fun to do and will really help you to align in that way.
Love that. And I'm looking very forward to that as well. Okay, we could keep going, but I think we're gonna definitely have to have you back again if you're open to that.
I would love it. Absolutely.
Great.
I'll let you know come March, and maybe we can get even deeper into the new book that will be coming out then.
I would love that. Let's set that date. I love that. Thank you so much for being on the show. It is my absolute pleasure to not only get to meet you, but also to get to experience you as well. So thank you so much, Lisa.
Oh, thank you, Tanya. It was really fun for me, and it's always inspirational. So thank you for allowing me to share the Akashic wisdom with your listeners.
Great. Yay.